Do lot, do little. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. We're talking Dolittle. I need you all in the comments down below. Did you watch this movie? Did you enjoy it? And were you looking forward to it? And let's get into it. So, starring Robert Downey Jr. and an abundance of other actors, a physician discovers that he can talk to animals. So, literally everyone knows the talk going into this film was the fact that it was just unnecessary. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the idea that there is a fantasy element to this story, and they're taking the character of Dr. Dolittle in a completely different direction. Most people remember Eddie Murphy, but that's not the only iteration of this character that we've seen. So there have been multiple versions, and this is just another one. But that's the thing. I enjoy the fact that they were taking it in that direction. Then we get the trailer, and then we see a couple of things within the marketing, and personally, I wasn't really excited for this film. The only thing that was bringing me into it was the cast, which I thought was pretty cool. I feel like they could have pushed certain actors a bit more in the marketing, so I found that odd. And then Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is one of my favorites in Hollywood, man. I love almost everything that the guy does, and normally I love his performance regardless of how the film ends up being. With a film like Dolittle, I don't see this as a travesty. I don't see this as a movie that no one will like, no one will enjoy. I actually think this will find its audience, especially with younger kids, younger children going out looking for a big, grand fantasy adventure with a lot of recognizable voices, and hey, look, it's Iron Man. They could find that within this movie and find a pretty good film to grow up with loving, mostly for nostalgic purposes when they look back when they're older, but that's the kind of movie I see Dolittle being. So it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's also just not a movie I can recommend to anyone over that age. And here's the problem: to get those kids in the theater, the adults, the parents, have to be the ones to take them. And I just see this as one that you're going to sit through because you have to. Roll your eyes half the time, huff and puff your way through. Not that some won't find a magical adventure within there, because I believe there is an essence of something that could have been. But it's all about the execution with a movie like this. And the January release date should have told us, hold your horses. Maybe this isn't as good as some expected it to be. And that's kind of confirmed once you're watching the sloppy, messy, poorly directed, not very good CGI-filled film with awkward moments. I'm talking some of the more cringe-worthy moments I've ever seen in a kid's movie, and not just because they're going the route of we have to appeal to kids, so the jokes and the characters just screaming to the top of their lungs that may annoy the adults, but will appeal to kids. We're going to do that consistently, but it's also because they include some things in there, and I'm just like, this feels like it's pushing the boundaries. And I talk about easy, lazy jokes on this channel all the time, whether it's the fart joke or the most simplistic writing you've ever seen, and that is so consistent throughout the entire film. The moment with the dragon is one that I was talking about when I say, well, I guess a little awkward because it's weird, man. I'm not going to describe what goes on in that scene, but strange. And it just didn't fit with the tone that they were going for. And with a film like this, you at least have to try to make the conversations intimate. There were moments between the animals that I thought could lead somewhere and maybe build a bit of character within them, but none of them stood out as, oh, that's a memorable character, right? Every conversation they had with each other led to a joke that just wasn't that funny, or it led to one screaming to the top of its lungs, and it just kept getting more and more annoying. And Dolittle, you know, we're talking to animals in this movie. That's not a spoiler, but Dolittle rarely has conversations with the animals. They're always talking at him, and he's just kind of walking through, nodding his head, or giving a very intense emotional speech where the music swells up and it tries to give you some sort of emotion. It honestly felt like at times the scenes from Robert Downey Jr., and this probably wasn't the case, but it felt like they were recorded before they wrote the dialogue for the animals, because it's like, all right, we have Robert Downey Jr. scenes where he nods and shakes his head towards the animals, so let's just fill it with dialogue from famous human beings like Tom Holland and Kumail Nanjiani, who have memorable voices and they're great actors, but they just didn't do very much to enhance, to amplify the plot. That was just one of the more simplistic plots I've ever seen. We go here, we go here, we go here, we go on the mission, and it's over, and you know exactly what's going to happen. You know exactly how it's going to end. There are no stakes for our characters, and sure, it's a mindless, semi-entertaining film for young kids, but didn't you want a movie starring Robert Downey Jr. that could take Dolittle in a new direction and start a franchise to do more than that? I personally didn't necessarily expect it, but I just wanted more from this film. And I also find it funny, and it's true, it does resemble a Disney movie. It's not a Disney film, but it feels like a messy Disney live-action adaptation, but clearly this isn't based off of a prior animated film, even though it's based off of source material, but that's just the feeling I got. And also, the accent from Robert Downey Jr., he did good in the film for what dialogue he was given, but the choice, the accent, and the constant whisper, I mean, all throughout the movie he's whispering, just like, I don't know if I would have made that decision. It was just an odd choice to me. Look, guys, I love Robert Downey Jr. This is not a career-ending film for him. I love the concept of Dolittle and the fact that they try to take this in a different direction, but at the end of the day, I didn't think this movie did very much. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you like my positivity, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, and I'm going 40% for Dolittle. It's just not a movie that worked for me, but I will put an asterisk and say this is a film that I think some audiences will enjoy, especially if you turn your brain off, go into a theater, and just have fun with it. I personally just couldn't do that. So thank you so much for watching this review. Be sure to stay tuned because I have more Oscar coverage coming, and as always, Netflix reviews, Bad Boys for Life, all of those things are on their way. I'll see you soon.